you doing? My name's Duke, and this is Learn With Me. This is why I teach you how to use this. I get asked a lot of times, how can I become a photographer? How can I use the camera? How do you do this? What settings do you use? What does it take to become a photographer? Well, to start off, I started this 3 years ago. Knew nothing about cameras and nothing about anything, and it took a while for me to learn. By me having tremors, as you can see, I shake a lot. So I had to learn to hold the camera. When I first used to hold the camera, I just held it like this. And that's not the correct way of holding it. To be able to stabilize a camera, you must learn to hold the camera. Put it up to your eye, put it in the elbow, brace it into your side to where the camera is stable. That helps you. So, that's just one thing. But also, the main thing about cameras is what people want to know is what you see in the background, which is the blur. Blur is called bokeh. To achieve bokeh, you have to shoot at a high aperture, 2.0, 1.8, some lenses 1.2, 5, 6, things like that. The higher the number, the more bokeh you achieve. Like right now, I'm shooting at 2.2 to do this video. But also, there are some things you need to know. With cameras and photography, there's no one setting. Just like right now. I have an LED light, natural light coming in from the window on the right, LED light to the left. If I move back, it gets dark. If I move forward towards the light, it gets really bright. So, think about it. If I was to tell you, okay, take this picture here, and you say, well, I use 5.6. Well, you say, well, I used the same settings you did. Thing is, you probably didn't have the same available light that I did. Right now, I'm in a controlled environment to where I can control the light. You have to excuse my voice, and I have COPD, emphysema, so in the morning times it's really hard to breathe, which I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm still a little sick right now. But I've been getting asked a lot about photography. So, I'm going to try to teach you some of the things that I've learned over the years. I learned a lot. I always thought that it always was about expensive gear, expensive cameras, and things like that. That you had to have this, you had to have that. And it all became a want. But with photography, it's all about what you need. And I've learned from a lot of photographers, from watching Adorama, all types of different photographers, you know, and talking to different photographers, from Damian Ross, Jan Stegowitz, Mark Wise, Jennifer Lawson Rockwell, so many other photographers, Nicole Dickerson, you know, on and on and on and on, all these photographers a long time ago. And what interested me was a guy named Jeremy Macklin. And Merchland, sorry, not Macklin, his name is Merchland, sorry about that. But I was watching this picture, he took these beautiful black and white images, and I was like, I wanted to learn. So what I did, I started studying up on cameras and things like that. I didn't even have a good camera at the time, and I wanted to learn, and I knew it would be hard because of the shaking and things like that. So, make a long story short, I started looking up what I needed to know. And the main three things that with cameras that you need to learn with DSLRs, they're not like a regular camera or a cell phone camera. There's three things that you need to know. And that is aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Aperture is what we use to, as I said, 2.2. It allows for you to let in available light. If I go to 5.6, the camera will get dark. If I go to f8, it's going to get dark. If I go down to 2.2 to 1.8, that's going to allow me to change the light. So me explaining this way is not going into a technical term where you don't know what I'm talking about. So it's really easy to understand that way. So by looking on the back of your viewfinder, if you was to just hold your camera and turn it on, and you look at it, and you say, okay, well, I can't see anything. It's because right now there's no available light in here, and I'm at f8. But once I go down to, which this lens here is only goes to 4.0. then I would say, okay, I can't see. So now I would have to go to my ISO. And by pushing in my ISO, I went to 1600, and now, well, I'll go to 2000 just to show you guys. And I go there, and now there's a picture. Now you can see, which you probably can't see it clearly. But if I was to try to shoot anything else to a different number, I'm not going to see anything because it's too bright. So as I go up in aperture, you'll see the camera on the screen gets dark. So I'm going from 4.0 to f13. There's no picture. The screen is completely black. So now if I drop the aperture down 4.0 with an ISO of 3200, which would cause a lot of noise. So what I would do to compensate that, I would bring down my shutter speed. And as I bring down my shutter speed, as you can see on here, the light gets really, really bright. And so I'm like, okay, so everything is blown out and overexposed. On each camera there's a thing called a light meter. And it's right in the middle of here. There's a little bar that's right there. And the exact exposure is when the little bar is right in the middle. That's letting you know you have the right exposure. So, here's a trick. I'm somewhere taking a shot right now to do this shoot. And yet, there's not a lot of available light. What do I do? I'm like, I don't know. It's just dark. First thing you're going to reach for is a flash. But a lot of times you don't want to use flash, and you can actually get away with it. So if you have a lens that can go up to a higher aperture, like a nifty 50 millimeter 1.8, then you want to bring down the aperture. But you also have to be careful because going down to a 1.8 aperture allows a very, very shallow depth of field. And with depth of field, what I mean is this here. As you can see, my hand is out of focus. My face is in focus, but I'm not, just along with the background. But as I move my hand towards my face, my hand becomes in focus. Now think, if my hand was the second person, and if I was doing a group shot of a couple, one of the people is standing here and I'm here. Now the first person that's in front would be out of focus, and I would be in focus. So now you have to think about it, which all this comes into play with aperture. When you go into aperture, you can probably go up to 5.6 to get both of these people into plane, but you kind of want to keep your subjects on the same frame within eye level, because one eyes will be soft and the other eyes will be sharp. So that's something that you have to also watch for too. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. Another thing, shooting in the sun. It's really bright. You don't want to go out 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the bright sun and put someone out there in the bright sun, and the sun is to your back and the sun is in their face, and it's just going to be too much. I mean, their face is going to be blown out, you're not going to see anything, and it's just going to be very bad pictures. When you're outside, you always want to try to keep it, if you can, around 100 ISO. That'll give you your clearest and sharpest picture. And when you're shooting, you always want to have the sun towards your back, towards your subject's back, which that will give you a rim light. As you can see here from the sunlight, if you look up on my shoulder here, you can see the light there, the none. But here you see light because the available window light from the natural light is hitting me, which is giving me a separation light and a rim light. And also, on my cheek here, there's no light. But here, there is, because of the light that's from the window. So you have to pay attention to those things. Those are catch lights. And in my eyes, catch lights, highlights. Those are two different things. So what do we do when we're taking a picture or we can't see anything, or we have to do? Raise your ISO. I think that a safe ISO range is between 1 and 800. That's pushing it. You don't want to try to go too much in ISO. Some cameras, between crops and full camera, the ISO range will cause a lot of noise, but you won't get a clear picture. Also, you want to know about shutter speed. With me, I have very shaky hands. I'm not stable. As you can see, my hands shake. So if I was using this lens, which just has IS, is image stabilization. That's a very good thing to have on some lenses. But primes are very sharp lenses. They are a lot sharper than these. A lot sharper. So you get better picture with prime lenses, and they don't have image stabilization. But using IS, it helps a lot with camera shake. But also, what helps with camera shake is your shutter speed. By using your shutter speed, 100 or more, you're at a safe distance. If you take a picture at 50, and your hand just barely moves from pushing, holding down on the trigger, and shooting, then you're going to get camera blur. And you'll be like, something's wrong with my camera, it's out of focus. Every time I take a picture, it's out of focus. It's because that the shutter speed is so low and the shutter closes so slow that any movement of any body is just going to cause blur. So the faster the shutter speed, that's how quick the picture is taken. So if I was using a 50mm lens, I would either go double the focal length or a little bit higher. 1/25, 1/60 to things like that. Depends on what I'm trying to do. If it's sports shooting or portrait, that's what I would do. To be in a safe range for photographers, and what I've learned when I was learning, excuse me, is that shooting at 5.6 was always a safe range for me, because 5.6 allowed me to keep things in focus, but yet have very minimal background blur that still looked pleasing to the eye. And that kept my subjects in focus. And as I grow, I learned to do different things. I learned to try different apertures, different settings. In all cameras, if you want everything in focus, f8 between f16. If you want to blur out the background, 5.6, 4.0, 3.2, really safe. When you go into 2.0 and things like that, you have to think, I'm shooting at so low of a depth of field that if the slightest movement is going to cause motion blur. And when shooting kids, they're like a bird, they're fidgety. They're moving constantly. So you got to watch that when you're taking pictures of kids. You want to kind of shoot it. You want a good blurry picture, but when you have a very busybody kid, you don't want to shoot at that low of an aperture because you're going to get blurry shots. And it's always good to take more than one shot. So, with that said, today I'm going to cut it short and not be talking on and on forever. But if you have any questions that you need to know, I can teach you more. And don't forget, this is called Learn With Me, Photography for Dummies. And I will get you there. And I'm learning too, so we're going to be learning together. So there's no wrong or right way. It's just all about learning our camera, which is this, and learning how to use it. It's not all about buying expensive gear. It's about learning what we have and making it work for us. And I'm Duke from Duke Photography. And this is Learn With Me. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'll be showing you some sample images. Check it out at the end of the video. Stay tuned.